Hello, hello. We had a third person, but they left. Hey, Dennis.
Hi, Neil.
How's it going?
It's going well. Hello, Kate,
Hello there.
from her caravan.
Oh, just got out the sea.
Nice.
Yeah, I just walked in from 87 degrees outside, so
Oh my God,
at
really?
least there's no fire today.
For sure. Yeah, that's hot. That's super hot.
It's super not hot here. It's like
It's
16
really
degrees.
crazy. It's really
Rubbish.
crazy. I was sitting there having breakfast and I put
Really?
a text. I put a text on Facebook that said, watch for a fire that's coming from this direction today because that would be really bad for us. And like 15 minutes later, poof, there it is.
Oh no,
It was crazy. Hello, Philip.
Hello, my favorite dominoes. I haven't seen you guys for ages, it feels like.
yeah. How was your boat trip?
Oh, guys, no, like I was on a boat and then at one festival and then at another festival, and tomorrow morning I'm leaving for another festival. So
Oh wow.
been very hectic, but I'm super
Living the
grateful.
bohemian life.
That's
Well, sure, maybe you can call it that.
that's fantastic, man.
What's this mean, Dennis?
That's how they clap at the coffee shops.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've seen Devon
Yeah.
do that.
You don't hear all this shit, just like, yeah, man, groovy.
Okay,
For
too
sure.
posh to tap. How is everyone?
Good.
Good.
What did I miss in the last two sessions?
Lots.
Oh, such a shame. I'm gonna have
Lots.
to go and watch replays.
Yeah, we did that. We're doing the discipline. We did the disciplines like the first chapter where it doesn't really dig into them. It just kind of gives you like a cursory example of them. And there's some really good stuff in that about enrollment. There's a bunch of stuff. I have to go back and review it too because I've been just really busy.
Okay.
That was a
Could I go into coach mode and ask what's been your key takeaways from the last sessions that I haven't been present?
Well, let's see what other people have to say. Would love to hear. Janice, you were in the last one. Kate, I don't think you were in the last one. Hey, but did
I was. I was in the last one. Can I remember what my takeaway was?
Oh yeah, you were totally in the last one. Yeah.
Yeah, I was.
That was a long time ago.
Huh.
Book club. Okay.
I should use one of those otters.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Oh, I
really
mean,
good.
we talked a lot around selling the experience. There was a lot around there, and we noticed like it wasn't that each of the 18 were clear cut. There was lots of overlap, wasn't there? There's lots of they were clustered, weren't they? Yeah, creating the experience rather than describing it. So there was lots there. What else did I write? Enrolling versus sale. And it was about, are we enrolled in the experience that we're creating, as well as hoping to enroll a client? How enrolled are we? And there was some conversation around that it was, I think it was more of a not a one-to-one conversation, but maybe a retreat, whatever, that equivalent is. And somebody talked about, or unless it was in the comments afterwards, are we as engaged in the actual delivery of a 3-day event as opposed to the lead up and creating the opportunity for people to come to it? I think there's something around there, and I know that resonated with me because I'm doing a 3-day retreat, leading one in October. So I stopped and asked myself that question. I was like, actually, I'm so excited for what I need to do, what I need to bring, and what other people will bring. So I did question myself on it to make sure that I was.
That's great. I remember a big key takeaway from me, and it was one of the things that got me kind of into the concept of enrollment as opposed to, say, selling a product, and kind of why I see a bit of a difference between the two was that when you sell a product, it's kind of like the product goes out the door and that's kind of the end of it. Like maybe it comes back for repairs or something like that, but once it's sold, then it's over. So your whole kind of strategy with sales is in the selling, whereas your whole strategy with enrollment or coaching is developing a relationship that's going to sustain after the kind of the selling point, like where there's an exchange of money. So the exchange of money is really whereas in a sale, that's kind of like the culminating point. Like, yes, I've had the sale, like now it's over, right on to the next sale. With coaching and enrollment, the exchange of money is really just kind of like one milestone, and it's not even that important of a milestone. It's more of like a filter. It's more of like a signal of commitment and value, as opposed to like a signifier of completion. And that's a really big one for me, just in life, like not just in coaching, but in teaching music. Like I have students that come back to me years later that hang out with me. So like, it's not like I sold them something and I never see them again. It's like a very long-term relationship is built. Dennis.
As we were talking about that, I was struck by the distinction between selling and the enrollment. And we just went through a situation where my friend DJ went over and bought a car. And I already told her I hate going to cars dealers. I hate car salesmen because all they want to do is blah, 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 blah. And so this guy is taking us in, and he's dumping all this information on us. And he's telling us all about these advantages of this car and the mileage and the technological 5 stars and blah, 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 blah. And I was struck as Kate started to talk. You can sell what it is you do, or you can just always be in B mode and just be what you do. And so when you have a conversation, it isn't a sales conversation. It's just you being. And it's you asking those coaching questions, even when you're having that initial conversation, because that's what you be. That's who you be. And, I was reading through the reading today, and it was like time and time and time again, it's enrollment, it's engaging with somebody, and it's having a conversation rather than saying, hi, here's my product and it'll do this for you and this is this, and making it some kind of a rigid thing. Or you can talk, and you can actually start that transformational process right then and there.
Yeah, there's actually this great, speaking of car salesmen, there's this great YouTube video series from this car salesman down, I can't remember where he is. He's in the South somewhere. And he talks about how he was like a prolific salesman. And he had been selling cars online, and then that whole thing collapsed for some reason. I can't remember why. So then he walked into this car dealership, and in the car dealership they were selling something like 9 cars a month. That was like their highest selling, their highest sales month. And he sold 3 or 4 cars in a day. No, sorry, he sold even more than that. And the reason why, I think it was 10 or 15 cars in a day. And the reason why he did that was because, how he was able to do that was that this guy, he came onto the lot, and he wants to buy this certain truck, and they don't even have that kind of truck. He's like, yeah, we don't have that kind of truck, but we do have this other truck I think you'd really like. And the guy has this black truck. It's called a Ford F-150 or something like that. The guy's like, I'd never buy a black truck. He's like, okay, well, while you're waiting for us to order this truck in, like we can set all that up for you, but why don't we just go for a drive in this truck? And the guy's like, okay, yeah, for sure. So then they go for a drive, and there's like supposed to be this route that they take, that he's been like told to take. And this guy's like, nah, never mind. So they go for a drive, and this guy owns a construction company. And he's like the guy who's buying the truck. So the salesman's like, hey, why don't we go to one of your, hey Layla, why don't we go to one of your construction sites? So they drive around, and he explains to him, he's like, what the guy does and everything like that. He's curious and asks all these questions. Long story short, he not only sells him the truck, but they look at a bunch of the trucks that are on his construction sites, and he's like, oh, these trucks are all beat up. Looks like you probably need some new trucks. Sells him a whole fleet of new trucks for the construction site. Then his wife comes and is like, well, if you're going to buy a black truck, like we always have the same color car. So he buys her a car. And then the son comes, he like enrolls the whole family in his purchasing of these vehicles, not because of like the specs of the vehicles, but because of the experience of like just driving around, hanging out, getting to know the guy, what the guy's needs are, what his like dreams and his like his vision for the future of his company, all that kind of stuff. And then he serves the guy. He finds all these ways to powerfully serve him. So he's not a car salesperson, really. He's enrolling the guy in this lifestyle of these particular vehicles as being helpful for him. And it's so funny that I watch that, because I look at practically everything through the eyes of the Prosperous coach these days, because I just use it so much. So I'm just like, wow, look at this guy. He's like, he is the prosperous person. Like he's selling cars, but he's not actually selling cars. He's selling connection. Because the guy is like, because he started a relationship with this guy. He didn't just sell him one truck. He's like, gets to know him, then he gets to know his wife, then he gets to know his kids, then he the whole kind of bit. It's like that same thing as in there's that referral process. Who do you know? Who would also like his truck? Who is like you and I could be useful to them. So it's interesting how these things can just kind of extrapolate further and further. But like Dennis is kind of saying, and if we kind of start with that being the first discipline, if you sell like the technical elements of something, nobody cares. And it's like, the only thing people care about is, will it help them? Like, will this truck help them? Will these lessons help them? Will this coaching help them? Will this washing machine help them? Like, Philip.
I think I know exactly what video you're talking about. I think the guy's called Andy Elliott.
Yeah, is he like I think he's got white, or he's got blonde hair. He's just kind of like your average kind of Southern guy, right?
Has he maybe in his older videos he's got blonde hair, but in his recent ones he's bald and he's quite built.
Pretty Bill. I should look it up.
And Andy Elliott on YouTube. But yeah, well, anyway, the story when you said about the black F-150, um, I recall that, and I I've got a little bit addicted to his videos because I do actually quite enjoy the way he's trying to encapsulate the sales process, and he's quite standoffish, confrontational with the way that he's sort of presenting to people. Because he's trying to sort of show sales like whenever he's coaching people, he's got like these videos of him coaching people through the sales process. He's training salespeople, and it's really interesting the way that he's doing it because he's quite confrontational. Like when he catches someone slipping up or saying something that they shouldn't say, he just straight away catches them and like goes, "No, like don't say that. That's like the wrong." Now you're telling him about features. And in his videos, he's always saying this about like car mileage. He's like, if somebody says like, "Oh, the mileage is too much for me," then he's like, "No, more mileage is better because you get a much better deal and the value of the vehicle doesn't drop so drastically over time. You can sell it in 2 or 3 years and really not have lost that much."
So he's really finding these like he's turning things around.
Right, exactly. But he's doing sales, but he's making it really interesting. But yeah, it's about selling the experience because when he's talking to people and he's got someone coming in and they're like, "Oh, look, this car's got, a V6 engine and it's got this and that." And he's like, "No, like, look, it's fun. It looks good. I look good. I feel good, you know? Like, let's go on a drive." Like, that's immediately the thing. Like when people, I remember that with the video about the white car. He says, "Okay, fine. It's not the white car that you wanted. It's the black one. But let's go for a ride. You can find out if you like this spec or if you like these seats or something. Let's just go for a drive." And then like the car is so cool that the guy ends up buying it. So yeah, interesting.
Totally. I think that's it's such a huge part. And I see it everywhere these days, I see it in car commercials, I see it everywhere. And I also see when people are trying to sell whatever they're doing with the details of the product rather than the outcome. And people are mostly outcome based. Like unless you find someone who's like super tech. Like they have gearheads, people who buy things simply because of the specs of gear, but that's a totally different, more of a niche thing. But for most people, they're looking at what's useful for them. It's like I'm reading Steve Jobs' biography right now, and he's huge into that. It's like a huge part of his whole thing. It also lends to, so that's kind of, I want to just dive in here and use this because last time also, oh wait, Layla, you want to say something about this too? Oh, okay. Your hands raised here. Okay. Philip, we kind of last time we jumped around because I could hear in what people were saying the different disciplines. So we're just gonna kind of like go from discipline to discipline in maybe like a non-linear way. But I kind of find that what we're talking about here is twofold. There's the no cold calling one, which I think we're kind of edging our way towards, which I think can sometimes be a really difficult discipline. Not that all of these don't have their own difficulties, but use your inner circle connections. Are you raising your hand now, Layla? Or are you? Yeah, okay. Go for it.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
So before I just realized before I forget and we go so far away, number 17. So which is way in the future, I know, but
Okay.
we were just talking about how, Dennis, you were saying like wanting to be, I love that, wanting to be instead of selling, or wanting to like, what were you saying, Dennis? Can you tell me again? It was so good. It was like being. It was like, it was right. It was like being instead of You know,
It's,
you're just
it's
being
it's like
away.
it's like selling instead of being. It's like don't tell them about the experience. Be the experience. Do the
Totally,
experience. So,
totally,
so you can have that conversation, and the conversations can all be the same conversations. All the
totally.
all the difference is whether they've taken you on as being their coach or not.
Okay, cool. That was what it was. So thank you. And then immediately I started thinking about this one, which is number 17. And I think the way he wrote it, like be constantly aware of the danger of it. That's so intense, like the danger. But I was gonna offer this little piece about how, so there's this book called The 48 Laws of Power. And a certain part of how we be, or how we become someone's coach, let's say, or how we become how we create a client relationship with someone, sometimes that being is okay to, I don't want to say hide, because it's not about hiding, but it's okay to create a sense of mystique or a sense of mystery in a way. And sometimes I find that in almost like the wrong situation, if I just be everything all that I am, sometimes it pushes things around in a way where, if I'm not careful, I guess what I'm trying to say is, if I'm not really intentional about the way that I'm being in a given situation, sometimes that space that I might leave will create this for a split second, where all of a sudden the role is reversing. And because I'm sort of like feeling out a situation, because I'm not like personally like immediately always being all of it, and that I'm sharing that choice and that intention has to do with this other book that I've been reading about, the 48 Laws of Power, where it's like I can, and somebody else was telling me this too. It's like, if I give it all in the first 5 minutes, what is that? Like, you know, and I know that we could say, oh, well, that's stepping into a fire, or that's, you know, but, I guess my thoughts are a little bouncing around, because it just struck me the way you were saying, just like being in all the situations, because I definitely feel like sometimes I will back off out of, and I'm like, oh, this might not be a great client for me, or this might not be like, especially in birth work and stuff, when women start going, well, I don't really like this and I don't like that, I'm like, oh, okay, I'll step back here. But then when I give too much of that space, that's when number 17 can happen, where it's like, and I don't know if that makes sense, y'all, but it just kind of, it struck me the way that you were just so boldly, Dennis, saying like, just be the way always, you know, like walk into every experience, just be the experience at every given moment. And I love that. And in my experience, sometimes I pull back a bit, but if I pull back too far, number 17 happens. Boom. All of a sudden, a person's asking me all kinds of questions like, oh, fuck, wait a second. What is going on here? Like, I don't want to be under the microscope right now, you know, or somehow like, and I think there's a level of give and give in that moment, where sometimes I do think it's okay to reveal, you know, to answer to certain questions that they might be having. Like, I give the space, and then all of a sudden it's coming at me, and I'm like, okay, I could reveal a little bit here about my insides and offer a little bit of my, you know, truths or my potential weaknesses, or you know, things that I'm exploring. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think there's like a yes, stepping into being the being, and what kind of
Oh no, you're breaking up in the end there.
are we just, oh, I'm breaking up. I think one of my kids is trying to call me, and I don't know how to switch calls.
I wanted to unpack that a bit.
Am I back?
I kind of want to unpack that one because I think I understand where you're going. So let's just read this discipline here. So, don't allow the roles to become reversed in a conversation with the prospect. In other words, don't let them become the coach and you the client. Don't become needy and put yourself in the position of saying, well, anything you want, call me anytime, tell me when you're available, as you fall all over yourself to talk to them. It's called role reversal when you do this. Please keep in mind that you are the coach. You are the one considering adding someone to your list of clients. You choose clients based on their coachability. It's not the other way around. I have coaches come into my school who have it totally the other way around until they learn this powerful discipline. Their whole approach is unlimited availability. I'll coach anyone with money. If you have money, I'll coach you. I don't care if you're coachable. I don't care who you are. I don't care if we succeed together. It doesn't matter to me. All I want from you is a check, and then we'll book time and get through it. You can see that this approach is not strong. It does not get you clients. It has to be the other way around. Even if you have only one client and you have room for 9 more on your calendar, you must hold your role. You might want a 10 client practice.
Okay, wait. So that's the part right there. Go back up, Neil. Just right there. See the part about unlimited availability. Okay, so that was a thing that got me thinking. When Dennis were saying about like being always, that I would like to know more of what you guys think about that, because in the 48 laws of power, limited availability, as in the mystery, or the not just the mystery, but sorry, I'm also in this moment. Yeah. The mystery of the creation of that. Yeah, that's what I want to know about. Unlimited availability.
Go for it, Dennis.
I reached a point in my work career where I realized that when I was going to a job interview somewhere, they weren't interviewing me. I was interviewing them to see if I wanted to work with them, if I wanted to commit to what their vision was, if I wanted to be a part of whatever it is they were doing, because I'm that kind of guy. When I go and I get into something, the old cowboy adage is I ride for the brand. I support, I go all in and everything. And so when I realized that that's what my mindset was, it really changed how I looked at job interviews. And this being, too needy or too available or something like that, we don't need to sell our soul to have a great coaching practice. We just it's just back to be us. And it's be us with it was like when I became a cop, I knew I had already gone through, I had considered, I'd given very deep thought into at what point I may or may not determine that I would use lethal force, because that's a big deal. That's a big thing to pack around as a police officer, is that situation that might arise when you might do that. And it's the same thing with everything else that we do. We need to determine ahead of time what our schedule is going to be, what that looks like. Do we want to do 2 clients a day for 5 days a week and have the weekends off to be in our family? What is it? And that's going to take that needy element out. That's going to take out that, can you tell me? Because then you're not serving, you're begging. And it becomes a totally different thing. So yeah, so my mindset is, you're actually looking at them to see if there's a relationship there and there's something that you can foster and have that conversation. It's like anything else we do in life. I'm seeing a lot of great parallels here, but you got to go with the vibe that's happening. I think. I don't know. I'm not really a coach yet. I'm a student, so I'm trying to work that out.
For sure. I want to hear what Philip has to say too. Or do you want to weigh in on this, Philip, or do you have like more of a technical question?
Yeah, I had a technical question. I mean, it's on the same subject. I think we should stay. Oh, okay. My question was, what happens if somebody comes and they say like, you're in that conversation, you're trying to qualify them or disqualify them, and you get the feeling like this isn't going to be a good fit. I actually don't want to work with this person. I don't think this would be something I would enjoy, but they really want it. Like, how would you disqualify? How would you say to someone like, no, we're not going to work together? But they're like, no, but I really want to. I'm ready. Here's my money. Take my money. And you're like, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I think that both of these questions that are coming up are kind of questions I've thought about a lot. I think to kind of quickly answer your question, Philip, I think it's a really powerful way to serve people to say no. So like being able to say no to people will it can be transformative in itself. That could be your best coaching maneuver is to say,
yeah, but
hey,
like, imagine I find Kate and we have a call and Kate's a practicing coach and I'm like, wow, I really like your product, your service, and I'd love to do this. But Kate's got her own criteria for what she's going to do with a client or what kind of client she's looking for, who she wants to work with. And in this process of this conversation, Kate's figured out that she's like something isn't right and something's not adding up, like whatever her criteria is. But I'm like, wow, oh man, look at all this value. I follow you on Instagram or on YouTube, and this is so great. I'd love to do, want to work with you. Here's my money, take my money. But Kate's like, you don't fit my criteria. How would that conversation be like, Kate rejecting me and saying like, sorry, I know you want to work with me and I know you've got the money and like, yeah, it's a bit of a funny question, but how would you say no? Layla's got an idea.
Okay, go, Kate. You got an idea too.
I've got a real life experience that happened in the last couple of days. So a friend messaged me and said she knows what I do. She messaged me and said, please can I enroll you as a coach? No, employ. Please can I employ you as a coach? And she's a dear friend as well. So she was there with the money. She wants a coach. And I slowed it down and I said to her, if there was going to be a relationship, it would be very separate to our friendship. It wouldn't be a face-to-face thing. It definitely wouldn't be a over dinner thing. It would be a formal thing. It would be on Zoom. So there was a clear distinction between the types of conversations that we were having. And how comfortable would she be in reality working with somebody who's a really close friend? How comfortable would I be? Let's both slow down and think about that. So invited in some curiosity around it. And the outcome has been that she what I'm interpreting, because we haven't yet had a conversation, is she'd been really brave because she knows that she wants some coaching, but then she's got this, oh my goodness, yeah, we're friends, how's that going to work? So she's completely retracted to think. So essentially there was a client there who I want to employ you for some coaching, and I encouraged let's both stand back and see how this sits. And now it's off the table, and that's okay, because if it was going to be the right thing, I think we'd have gone hell yes more instantly. But having that time to think about it, I don't think it's the best idea. I've said to her, I know lots of people who are amazing coaches. I can introduce you. And she's done a little bit of, when people want to open a can of worms and then they lose their nerve. So I think that she's in that place that, oh, if I work with a coach, then I'm going to uncover some stuff that I might not want to uncover. So she's also retracted. But what that tells me is it wasn't the right time. Maybe it wasn't the right person. So it's created distance and an opportunity to reflect was how I did it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's like, and that's a really powerful way to serve someone.
Mm.
Yeah, like you could
Can
have done.
I,
Sorry, Layla, did you want to weigh in
yeah,
on-
I wanted to add to that. Unless I thought you were taking a break, Neil, but you were keep going, so I can wait.
No, it's okay. Just raise your hand when you want to. I know you got that little phone, but
I know, sorry.
it's
Let's
okay.
see.
Go
I
for
can
it.
raise, you want me to raise my,
No, just
what?
go for it. Go for it.
Okay. That's amazing, Kate. And I think this is the exact thing, this is the exact thing I'm trying to pull it out, because in one sense, sometimes when somebody's super interested in the service and we're getting all this, like you're saying, Philip, somebody's just like, holy crap, this is exactly the thing that I want, and blah blah blah. And you come to that no place. That's one element. When we say no to someone, how you're almost, it sounds like, Philip, there's like this concern over like, well, how is that going to sit with the person? There's this birthing client that I just pretty much had to say no to. The woman, honestly, like, was pretty sad about my answer, but I see the service that we can give. Like, if we're always putting ourselves in the place of the professional one, so in sort of along this lines of this book that I'm reading about the 48 laws of power, it's like, I am the person with the wisdom, or I am the person presenting an opportunity for someone to, like, if we want to use the enrollment word, Neil, the enroll, I'm presenting an opportunity for someone to enroll in an experience that I'm offering. So it's almost twofold. It's like the people who are approaching, we are the ones that can say yes and no. When we say no, they might actually have needed that so badly that they might turn around. Like, for instance, this birth client of mine, I'm hopeful that she turns around and takes the support that I offered her, takes the no that I gave her, decides to start on a journey that's truly about her very real need for extreme transformative wellness. And she comes back to me a week later and goes, okay, you know what? I don't know why I was resisting so much. I do need to eat better. I do need to, a series of things that I had said, wow, this is really not, we might not be the best fit. On the flip side of that is this part about unlimited availability, where when we are unlimitedly available, or when we are looking at a situation and we're thinking, oh God, how are they going to feel? Or they're going to feel all these rejecty things, or maybe that'll reflect badly on me, or even to the point, and I'm still not totally sure about this part about always being fully, it's like, but can we step into a situation, know how full we can be, gauge the moment, decide how full am I going to be? Am I being so full that I'm unlimitedly available, and so thusly I'm looking needy, or I'm appearing, where it's this role reversal element? Am I being limited in the sense, is that a healthy way for me to be in this moment? Because the limitation will not only create that sense of like, oh, this person's really this wise person that I'm seeking support from, but also that no element. Does that make sense, y'all?
There's some things that I feel like there's some things that I understand that you're trying, like what you're trying to reach at. It sounds like, um, there might be like a little bit of a, like, it sounds like what Dennis is trying to say is like an embodiment thing, like where he's talking about kind of being the experience of like all the time. And which is like it's like an energetic thing, you know, where you are consistently in that space where the questions come out of you very simply, very easily. Like the curiosity that turns into coaching or creates a client, it's coming from who you're being, because you're not stepping into the coach, you're just always in. That's just an aspect of your essence, so you build it into your essence. And it sounds like what you're talking about is something different than that. Like it's following another course. So, and I'm not entirely sure about it. Like I understand what you're saying in terms of like limitations, like only revealing, because I've read the same book, only revealing certain aspects of yourself so that you maintain kind of a position of power, which is what, you know, what the 48 Laws of Power is about. Though in the 48 Laws of Power, it's a lot about maintaining artificial power, where and that's, I think maybe is where there's like that little bit of a distinction, like, but I think that this unpacks something really good. So I'm just going to try and talk about it for a minute here, because I think that this connects to something that's really important that I see actually in my coaching experience as well, with like people who I'm coaching. And that's like the concept of like over serving, or being like a role reversal happening, or something being taken from you when you serve. Like say when you give a 2-hour kind of free coaching session or something like that. So you give a lot of who you're being. A lot of fear can come up in the kind of negotiation like world that we live in. Like I've seen it with people I coached when they're talking about relationships. Like, I won't fall in love with this person until they fall in love with me, or I won't reveal who I am until this person reveals who they are. These kind of like gates between people, because they're kind of like, because there's a fear that something will be taken away, or that there will be a role reversal or something like that will happen. And then in that process, they'll be like, the person will be drained, you know? Like if I'm too nice to this woman or too nice to this man, they're gonna use me, or they're not gonna respect me. That kind of stuff can kind of happen. We won't have an equal footing in our relationship. So if I limit myself and I only show certain things at certain times, that way I'll be able to kind of control or guide the relationship, and then I'll be able to see when it's the best time to fully reveal myself. And that kind of like negotiation based way of thinking of relationships, it doesn't seem to work. Like ultimately it's not like a place of prosperity. It's an arranged or artificial kind of place. So I think what and this connects to the next thing I want to talk about here, is that when in this lesson in 17, with this, like, there he does put it as this kind of danger of role reversal. But the role reversal seems to come more from the danger in it is this neediness that happens, which is this kind of concept where we're not going to get from life what we need. So we need to be in a tit for tat way of thinking. So I'll only show a little bit of myself and you only show a little bit of yourself, you know, or the opposite. I'll give absolutely everything about me to someone who doesn't really matter, like, who doesn't really care about me. So like both situations don't really work that well. So like in this particular situation, Rich Litvin is saying like, don't just coach anybody. Don't just give yourself away to anybody. First of all, curate the situation and figure out if you can actually do something that's powerfully helpful for them and that they will consider powerful and helpful for them. Like, can you actually connect in that way? Don't just meet someone and start coaching them. Like, get permission, put it into a professional situation. Once you get into the professional situation, do a discovery, kind of 2-hour discovery call, find out if you can actually help the person, and then coach like a badass. But if you're coming from a place of like either tit for tat, like I'm only available in certain ways and they're only available in certain ways, or you're coming from the place of desperation, like I'm just going to coach whoever comes along, that's when it turns into this slippery slope of realities that you just don't want to be a part of. And I think that kind of what Dennis is kind of saying, and it's something, a reason why I'm going on and on about this is because I think it is actually really important, is that, and it has to do with enrollment, is that when you feel fully enrolled in who you are, and I'm still deeply learning this for myself, there is a form of protection in it. And like people, I think that's what people get most afraid of, is that if I do the things in the Prosperous Coach, something bad will happen because it just seems so far out. And that actually leads to the next discipline that I want to talk about, because I think that the fear, this happens to me. I find this happens to my clients. It also happens to me when I play music or when I have students. And it's like, how do you protect yourself from this? Exactly. Like what is the protection mechanism so that you don't fall into these tit for tat realities or like or martyrdom realities or all this stuff. And Kate already said it, which is slowing down. And I'm just looking for that one right now here, because slowing down is the best protection, if you want to use kind of that word of, where is it? I'm not slowing down enough to find it. 15, 14,
13.
13, is it 13?
Mhm.
Ah, that's right. Okay. And I'm going to get to you in a moment, Dennis. I just want to kind of connect it to this next one. Thanks. Because I think this is really, really big. This is what I talk to my own clients about. So this discipline is really important. He doesn't say this about the other disciplines. It's called slow down. I've never had it not work to get people more business, to increase their revenue when they just slow down. And I think that happens like before you even have a conversation with people, or when you have a conversation, after you have a conversation, or like years down the line when you think about the conversation. If you don't slow down and look at like the filament in the moment, like the little details, then all of a sudden everything can get out of your can get away on you, really. So please look at who your next conversation is with. Who are you talking to? Who has emailed you in the last 48 hours? Slow everything down, because everything you want is right here in front of you. You just don't see it because you're racing around. And that's even in the conversation itself. You'll be racing around in the conversation. You know, maybe the speed of your words speeds up, or you just miss something because you race past it. You're racing from one meeting to another, from one quick conversation to a brief email, and you're skipping all over the place. You are not creating relationships. You're just touching base. And a relationship is a long, slow, deep thing. So remember that coaching occurs because of long, slow conversations. It occurs because of the focus you give to someone. It occurs because they have a sense that you are there for them, that they are very important to you, that you have time for them. Cannot have that happen if you don't slow down. And the more you slow down, the more you'll get done in this profession. I had a person, so I think that's, we can kind of keep going there. I can read more of it, but to me, that is the protection element. When people are afraid of the relationships that they're in, when they're worried about the jobs they're in, the bosses that they have, when they're worried about being in a conversation at a party or an event or networking or anything like that, what they're really afraid of is that they're going to go too fast. They don't even realize that that's the problem, but it's like that the vehicle of their life is going to get out of control. And then they go, okay, well, I should put limits on it, or I should just make sure that I like bring anybody in off the street or whatever it is. Use all these other methods of trying to cure the situation that aren't just slowing down. So I think that that's a major thing that Layla's kind of saying, and a major thing that Dennis is kind of saying. Do you want to weigh in on that, Dennis? Is that still kind of in line with what you're...
If you will trust me and give me 90 seconds, I'll tie something together for you, okay?
Yeah, sure.
I used to work in the convention industry, and at the end of an exhibit, at the end of the show, everybody is rushing in. They all want to be first. They all want to get their shit on their truck and get out of Dodge. And I went back there. I was working with a guy, Jimmy Sear. We called him Alabama. And Jimmy would do whatever he could to make those people happy. All right. And he's there one day and he's about ready to get his ass kicked. And he looks at me and he goes, dude, because I'm like twice his size. He turns around, he looks at me and he goes, dude, would you run the desk for me? I said, sure. So these guys are all coming up. They have all these ideas about what they want to do. And I would rather have a good no than a bullshit yes. Okay. No speaks to your personal integrity. If you could look somebody in the eye with a clear mind and tell them, no, I can't do that, but here is what I can do. Mm-hmm. So these guys would come rolling up and they'd like, hey, can you get me in? No. But have you had something to eat? You guys been working hard all day. Have you had dinner? Oh, wow, we haven't had dinner. Okay, I'm going to put you right here. All right. I'm going to hold your place. When you get back here, you let me know when you're here after dinner, and I will take care of you. And I did that. Okay. By the same token, if we say no, it all ties into your slow down thing too. Hey, do this, do that. No, I can't do that, because nobody wants to have somebody blow smoke up their ass and tell them they can do everything, and tell them that a client coming in to me as a coach and telling me how to fix it isn't what we're after. We're after that conversation that's going to go and it's going to dig in and it's going to go deep and it's going to look in all the dark corners and it's going to shine the light on what is unnecessary, what is weighing you down, what's tying you up, what's keeping you from doing the things that you should be doing because you're dealing with all this other bullshit. So that example of your personal integrity, to not just run out there and be like every other asshole on Facebook that's telling you they can give you the moon for just $97 a month, because there's plenty of that. Somebody that tells you no speaks to their personal integrity, to their dedication to doing what's right, to being real, to being present, to slowing down and creating that conversation and creating that relationship. I think.
No, I agree. Then it's interesting when you say no to someone, because it usually slows them down. They're like, "Oh, I'm gonna do this thing," and you're like, "No, no, no," and they're like, "What? What do you mean no?" And you're like, "Okay, well, before we go further, you need to talk about some of these things here." Yeah, Layla.
Yeah, so that's awesome, that distinction. And thank you for that. The distinction between, the embodied way of being, which I love, Dennis, 100%. It's like, well, just be. And then there are these moments when actual specific intentional conversations with prospective clients that yes, we can, sorry, there's flies. I'm not crazy, I promise. Having a fruit flies. You know, that there are these intentional conversations where it's like we've created that space, we've created that moment. We're not just like at the mall, you know, trying to coach people. We're like, hey, we've met someone, we've invited them into a moment, you know. And I just want to share about this birth client that I spoke with the other day, where it was literally a one-on-one with her and her husband, and we were in person for this call, for this session. And she's still not a client yet. And the slowdown element came in tenfold, because she was a mile a minute at me about how excited she was to work with me. So that piece, Philip, about like, you know, someone literally looking you up and learning all about you and being like, you're the one, I want to employ you, to the point where she was literally, before I'd even had a chance to be like, good morning, you know, she was literally telling me like, what's the deadline for payment? Like, when can she just wanted to hand me money. And the slowdown piece came in tenfold. And so did this piece about saying no, or this piece about being able to not just embody the way we're being, but being able to embody that available, that, like, and I hear you, Neil. Yeah, the 48 laws of power, it does have this sort of like part to it. But that availability piece of really being like, is this gonna be beneficial for this person? You know, is what I have to offer really gonna work for this person? Not just any old cat off the street, but is this really gonna work? And the woman, she's talking and talking and talking and talking, and I literally was like, pause. Like, I put my hands up and I was like, pause. Okay, hold on a second. And I said to her, slow down. I was like, you are making me freaking nervous, like, and anxious with how fast you want to be moving through this situation. And in the work that I do with birth, it literally is slow birth. That's the whole freaking point of it. You know, it makes me anxious just thinking about her speed. And I said, hold on a second, slow down. And I asked her two of the most important questions that I like to personally ask people to find out whether or not I feel as though this client and I are going to be a good match. Because I think that does make a significant difference with how we can serve. You know, it isn't just anybody. And I asked her, do you feel like you have support in your life? She goes, oh yeah, blah, 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 the family. I was like, okay, great. Now, what about your wellness? Do you feel that you're taking care of yourself? And without going into details, because obviously things are being shared publicly and everything, but we tapped on a few things that I was basically sitting there going, you're going to have to get these things under control in order for us to, you're going to have to work on this stuff here that I see. You know, and I have experienced these super high level people coming at me going, you need to read this. And Neil, you sometimes talk about it, like you want people to be enrolled in a situation by giving them a bit of pre-work. It's like, can you please show me that you're going to read this, you're going to think about this, and let's have another call. Let's have another session and a conversation where we actually reflect on like, so how did that go for you? Did you actually do these things that I've been asking you to do? I think that act lends directly to the act of slowing down, because you're literally putting the brakes on the entire client relationship. And you're going, and not only that, you're also creating that space of number 17 too, where you're like, this isn't going to be role reversed where you're telling me how this is going and all of a sudden I'm being just dragged along on your wild ride. So that's really cool, Neil, how you link those two together, because I do see them as like intrinsically related. And I feel you about not maybe going forward with this limited sense, but that space, that slow down, that moment of just pause and reprieve and reflection, asking a client to do that, doing that within. I think that's what I was, thank you for that, because that's what I was kind of trying to understand. So I'm grateful. Thank you.
No problem. That's like it's the same thing with like kids or anything like you. It's like how often are you if you've had small children, you know what it's like when you're trying to get out the door or you're trying to do something and they just want to like put on their shoes or something like that and you're like getting upset and all you can do is like slow down. It's like they're not gonna put on their shoes any faster. A bunch of other things are gonna happen. There's nothing you can do except slow it down, you know what I mean? And then you're gonna pick up the things that are important and actually do the really important work, whether that's like, do you want to put on your zipper? You want to zipper your jacket yourself? You know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm gonna wait here while you zipper it on then, like, because this is actually gonna lead to you putting on your jacket every time yourself. Like these like little things that when you slow down, they project into the future. They build rather than kind of rush away from. Also, I wanted to then, because I think, oh, Ellen.
Yeah, hi. Just a quick comment about slowing down. A quick comment about slowing down. Um, Most of all, that was the discipline that I enjoyed most reading about because it resonates a lot with me. However, I don't think that slowing down alone is the most important thing, but slowing down so that you can get present. I think maybe for some that will be obvious, but I think it's a really important distinction that slowing down has not only with speed, but your mental state. So, and when you are present, you will automatically slow down to a pace that's natural and authentic for you. And by doing that as coaches, then that will infect our clients as well. When we are able to be present, they will get that if they're open for coaching or open for learning. So that in itself could be a good indicator. How is this person going to receive what I can offer if they just keep on running while you are present? Then yeah, some pre-work could be beneficial. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
That's amazing, Ellen. I'm really happy that you made that distinction because that's like an inherent assumption for me that like when you slow down, you become present. But I think that you really pulling that out and saying that super powerful and really useful. Thank you for the clarity. That was so nice. Because that's what what's really trying to point at there is that presence and then the clarity that comes with it. And then also, like you're saying, when you're present with somebody else and they don't tune in to the fact that you're present and become present as well, and then be clear in that and that they create clarity together in that moment, that is a huge signifier of how good of how well they could be coached, how good of a like employee they would be, or a friend, or a lover, or anyone. So like if you can build that bridge or extend that your side of the bridge in the moment, and if they then also do, there's where the powerful relationships and connections are born. So you're absolutely right. It's not just slowing down, it's also presenting. And I think that ties into what Dennis was saying and really kind of hits it on the nose, is that when you're being who you authentically are in the moment by slowing down and being present, then the most the true relationship between you and the other person emerges. You know, whether they lock in with you and they're also present, and now you have like a very synergetic, transformative experience, or do they stay quick and in whatever kind of cloud or world they're in? So that speaks a lot. Thank you, Ellen. That really clears things up. Thank you. Thank you for being so present. I also want to key in also, because a lot of what you're saying too, Layla, it points to the next one I want to talk about, just kind of in this pathway that we've been walking along in the book, which goes with what you're saying, which is limitation creates value. So there is still some element of limitation, but what do they mean by it then? Because it can't be artificial. I don't think it's necessarily the same type of limitation that's talked about in the 48 Laws of Power. And that's not to diminish the usefulness of the 48 Laws of Power. This is just an interesting almost juxtaposition between two kind of ways of looking at it. So when something is limited, its value goes up. This is just like a natural truth, right? Whether it's manipulated or whether it's natural. I read a story about a stamp collector. There are only 2 of a certain kind of stamp remaining in the whole world, so naturally they were very valuable. He owned one of them, and when he finally got a hold of the second one, he burned it. This is the 48 Laws of Power style. The price of the first one went way, way, way up when he burned that second one. Way higher than the 2 of them combined. Because now is the only one in the whole world. Limitation creates value. So when someone knows that you are limited, which you always are as a coach, because you only have so many hours every week to offer to the world, they know you don't have that much availability. The fact that you do have an opening and are willing to consider them for it raises the value of your offer. Always, limitation creates value. In our prosperity workshops, we really go in depth on how to express and make use of this discipline. I want limitation to be very present in my communication about what I have to offer someone, even while I am offering it. So this is interesting because he doesn't tell us. He's like, there's more to this, and I'm not willing to tell you. He creates limitation in the discipline about limitation, which makes you be like, wow, geez, I wish I could take his workshop or whatever. So, but with that in mind, what is kind of how would you go about expressing the fact that there's a limitation in your coaching and in your life? Would say more than building out an artificial form of limitation. I talk with this about Nick a lot. Like, if you talk about limitation in say your post or something like that, but you're actually not limited, like it's not authentic. So where are you truly limited, and how can you leverage that limitation to your benefit? Ellen.
I'm not sure if this is exactly spot on, but what came to me is if we focus on what kind of business we want to create as a part of what kind of life we want to create for ourselves, what kind of a working situation. For instance, how many hours are we willing to work? What else are important stuff in our lives? If that in itself will create some limitations. And I believe that when we create things coming from a loving space, rather than creating something fake, as you say, just to do it as a strategy, or do it because it says so in the book, or Hardison says so. like any other religion. If it comes from the heart, it's different than if it comes from those who preaches, and you do it because they preach it. They preach. So that's what I'm thinking. That if you're coming from, I heard of someone that had a situation like they had an offer, but found out that they really didn't want more clients. Well, it was okay, but she really didn't need them. So she told me that she had come to that conclusion just a couple of hours before she got this offer. And she was, well, I guess, but it was nothing wrong. It was just, I could do it, but I don't need it. So she raised the fee for that client. And the client took it. And then she was very happy because creating that kind of limitation in her mind, coming from that place that, yeah, it was really for the best that she didn't have more clients at that point. So she was fine with that. And then this new client comes along and she says, well, I could do it, but then I would have a raise my fee. If I'm doing that, then I will get extra paid for that. So yeah, that's what came to mind about that. If you're coming from an authentic place, I think that you will also be more genuine in the way that you confront your clients. And what was the other word? I can't remember the word, but it's something about in one of the other disciplines as well. Yeah, like you're genuine. I think it was something like that.
Authentic or
Something like that. I can't remember right now the word, but something that, yeah, you are being you. You're not following a model, just following a model, but it comes from you when you are doing the model, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And I really like how you said too that it comes from love. I can definitely attest to how important that is because my life is very busy and if I don't love myself and love the fact that I only have so much time and energy to devote to any of the things that I do, and then I don't lovingly schedule out and create limitations around how many hours I have to do things, it doesn't leave me in a healthy position. And then it actually messes with my clients. I think I might have spoken about this on the last call, but I missed a call with one of my clients because we were traveling down to Vancouver to do a recording session, and I had just been doing so many things and not scheduling myself correctly that I actually missed a client, and they were deeply upset about it. They're like, hey, like this time we spend together is very important to me and my work, and you not being there is like really detrimental to and part of that was not recognizing my personal value, not loving myself enough, not creating a loving situation that where I felt valued so that I could actually build out a schedule that was useful for me and for the people who I'm supporting. So that was like there was a huge lesson in because I'd go the other way and be unlimited in a sense, you know. So it was quite I didn't realize the power of loving myself, the power of personal value, and the power of limitations as like a trifecta for deep transformation in myself and others. I was like, I thought I knew that game, but I did not. I learned I did not know that game. Alicia.
Hi, everybody. Hello, Ellen. I'm so glad you're here. Ellen and I spoke this morning, and after I got off that call, I was looking at my email. This is such an amazing conversation because I have a situation that has arisen from someone who wanted to hire me to play for their wedding on Saturday, and booking through a website called Gig Salad. I don't know if anybody's Dennis is, I know, familiar with it. And I had my last interaction with them a month ago, okay? And I said, book soon. They didn't book me. And then this morning I have this message, hi, we're getting really close and the wedding is Saturday. And I'm thinking, honey, no deposit. You didn't pay. I already have plans. And this is very apropos because now I haven't gotten back to, well, I wrote her back and I said, I'm sorry, I didn't save the date and you didn't book me. So an hour goes by and there's another message from this Gig Salad saying, with desperate bride needs cellist for her wedding. And I've been sitting on this all day thinking, do I offer my services? But I'm going to charge like twice as much if I do. I mean, and there's a piece of me that is just like, too bad. I don't want to. I already have a 3-hour rehearsal that morning. How much do I want to work on Saturday? Not enough. Unless I ask, and even if I ask for double, I'm not sure that it's worth it. And I don't know, there's a piece of me, because I have a big heart, that feels a little bit guilty. Like this poor bride, you know, her ceremony's really screwed up now. But there's another piece of me that's like, well, you know, it's not my problem that she dropped the ball completely. So I have a little bit of a dilemma. But I'm actually thinking I value myself and my time maybe more than I need or want this money. So.
Yeah, and it sounds like a great kind of little niggle that's happening there is that little feeling of guilt about being, you know, about feeling guilty about something that you are really have no reason whatsoever to feel guilty about.
Exactly.
There's like literally no reason, like
Yeah,
none.
a month ago I said book soon because my price will go up. And I mean, it's a month before her wedding and she still didn't book me. And then 3 days before to get this message, I wish her the best. I don't know what to say, but it seems a bit of an object lesson in what you were just talking about and slowing down because I didn't respond immediately. And for me, that's huge.
That is huge. That's fantastic. And that's a lot of really beautiful things to unpack right there. Especially when it comes to scheduling and people and weddings and things that are so important to people and you know what I mean? It's like, well, it couldn't have been that important to you. No matter how important you're making it now, like you should have had all of your,
yeah.
I'm sure you got all of your like bouquets on the tables figured out already. So like, don't leave that.
And this is something that as musicians, I think we battle, you know, this sort of undervaluing of our work and the scramble, you know, the hustle that we have are basically trained. It's trained into us to have this hustle mentality when it does not serve us. And if it's not serving us, how can it possibly serve the people we're performing for or playing for.
Totally. I think you're expressing the positive side of that little guilt thing, you know what I mean? Like it's like we are part of this hustle culture, and then there's this little niggle of like while you're working,
Yeah.
have a chance to work, and
Oh,
it's
you should be grateful. They want to hire you, and
yeah, exactly.
where's the respect? Where's the, if this was important for her to have at her wedding, and I kept chasing her down. Like, what pieces do you want? What's the order? Because there's a DJ or something in the middle of the ceremony, and I'm like, well, it looks like the DJ is going to do the whole ceremony now.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, too bad. Layla, you want to weigh in on this too?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Alicia, such a constant thing. So I just wanted to say I feel you tremendously, and I think you're doing a beautiful job listening to that part of you that's like, yeah, no, because I think when those yeah no's happen, they're actually exactly what, like, it ties back into all of what we've been speaking to in terms of creating that value. Like you saying, oh, you're desperate. I am so valuable that I don't work with desperate people because I'm not desperate and I don't want to get into that situation. And I wanted to just give this little quote. I found the chapter in this book. This is the 48 Laws of Power. And the chapter is called, and I just love this because you're doing this exact thing. So this is number 16. It's called Use Absence to Increase Respect and Honor. And they always have this little blurb at the beginning. It says, too much circulation makes the price go down. The more you're seen and heard from, the more common you appear. If you're already established in a group, temporary withdrawal from it will make you talked about, even more admired. You must learn when to leave and create value through scarcity. So again, this book has these elements that are kind of like, that seems a little like courtier manipulative, like low-key, kind of like maybe I wouldn't totally do.
Low-key
Yeah.
Machiavellian.
Yeah, low-key.
Is this Robert Greene?
Yeah.
Is that the author? Okay, I think I have that book actually.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to go look at it now.
It's a great, the chapters are really small and there's like 40 laws or 48. Wow, 48 it's called for you. But this is what I wanted to share too. Like, this is called, every single chapter has a thing called the image, and it says the sun. It can only be appreciated by its absence. The longer the days of rain, the more the sun is craved. But too many hot days and the sun overwhelms. Learn to keep yourself obscure and make people demand for your return. I love that. It's such a beautiful image, and the way that you, Alicia, are like, you're being the sun. You're like, you know what? I am so freaking brilliant in my capacity that I'm gonna actually just let the rain pour, because it looks like you're creating this tremendous storm and there's no amount of sunlight that I could give, because you've made the thickest clouds. I can't even make you a rainbow, So anyways, I just thought to share that because I'm so happy beside you. I'm like proud beside you, Alicia. You're inspiring. Like, I'm gonna be like, yeah, no, you desperate person, I ain't taking your gig.
That's awesome. Okay, so I'm really happy to see that I see this is why it's the prosperous person to me. It's not just the prosperous coach, because these things really stretch out into other parts of life. So the last one I want to do here, because I think it's the most important way to end, I guess you'd say, is leave the conversation in the context of possibility not the context of affordability. So most coaches allow a prospective client to hang up the phone in a context of affordability. In other words, the prospect leaves his talk with you wondering if he can afford you no matter what you charge. He goes to his wife or business partner and says, "Hey, can we afford to lose this amount of money on coaching?" This is the operative word. Of course, they are likely to say no in this context of affordability, because you left him wondering whether he can afford you or how he will get the money. The context of affordability is not a service to the prospect or to me, nor is it likely to bring me a client. So I don't want to let that happen. Before our conversation ends, I want to return the client and myself to the context of possibility. Even if we have slipped into the context of affordability, I want to redirect the conversation to the context of possibility before it ends. And then he says some great things here that you can kind of hit up on your own if you want. And I think that these are really good, and I'm actually going to review them because this is sometimes the hardest part of the conversation to me. I have definitely found that I will coach someone and I will coach the shit out of them, I guess you'd say. And they had a great time and they learned a lot. And then when it comes to the end of the conversation, it somehow gets really tight and narrow in that spot. And I don't feel good about it because I don't really want the conversation to end on that. And leading the way out of the conversation, that's difficult because, you know, if you do a really good conversation with somebody, they probably are going to be thinking about money or paying for you or something like that, or what could happen next, but they're just not really sure. They're not in a context of, they're either going to leave them in the context of possibility or the context of affordability, whether you say something or not, you know, like they'll probably start thinking about what it's going to cost because the conversation is coming to an end. So then it's your job to kind of guide them into this world of possibility. And then I'd also like to say, and the reason why I wanted to do this one as the last one is because I would want to leave this conversation in the context of possibility. I want to leave every conversation I have in the context of possibility, because that's how we create a beautiful future. It's not based on whether we can afford the future or not, but like what we're going to do with it. So with that kind of in mind, what do you guys think about this affordability to possibility kind of situation? How have you run into this before? Have you had to negotiate it in different areas of life or in just a general conversation? Yeah, Kate.
I can't find the hand thing, so this is so something that I've noticed, and I am working on the next time I have the opportunity. When I agreed with Nick that I would join his apprenticeship, it was very clear, this is the investment and you pay me now. My experience of that is I was a hell yes. I found the money because I wanted to invest in myself, and that was done and dusted at the beginning. And now it's not something that I think about. What I have done twice for the experience that I'm creating in October is when two people have said, I can't afford it now. Can I pay in installments? And I've gone completely into absolutely yes, of course you can. What will be good for you? And now it's become an issue because the payment dates have come and gone, and now is the whole awkwardness about chasing. So that's been a big old learning curve. And I know that my experience is I was willing to make it happen and make the, you know, it's money, sort the money out at the beginning. and do whatever I needed to do. And then the focus is no longer on the money. But now I have two people that the focus is very much on the money. And I feel as though my focus is they haven't paid. So therefore, how committed are they? Maybe they're not committed. They're in the place of they've moved from possibility and the hell yes into affordability. So this has been a very interesting learning experience for me. And yeah, next time I think I was being a little bit too, not think, I was being a little bit too ladylike about the money thing. And so, we don't want to talk about money. Yes, of course you can do installments, but actually it hasn't served anybody, hasn't served them, and it isn't serving me. Because now there's uncertainty.
Totally. And yeah, exactly. And it's one of those kind of, it's such a difficult little spot to knit the things together in a way that's really powerfully serving them and you, to be able to say, once you pay this money, this becomes possible. And that whole door it's not like, it comes back to that same thing about opening a relationship, not making it, closing a sale. Like this money is the door handle to these possibilities. And that's all it is. Like it's not and to be able to make it that simple it can be exaggerated in all of our minds. In the coach's mind, it can be difficult to take money for anybody and just see it as a filtration system. And it's like, go for it. Go for it, Kate.
At the beginning, Dennis was talking about, say, do the no. So, can I pay in installments? No. This is, the door handle to possibilities for you. Are you a hell yes? And this is, that's a great line. At the end of that, discipline 15. So then they can make a choice in that moment. Hell yes, I will find the money. It's still impossibility.
Definitely. Absolutely. Right. And like, what would be that? What would those results be worth that investment? You know what I mean? Like these kind of, I gotta memorize. I gotta put them on my wall or something like that, because they're just, it's so easy to go into that place and just kind of lose it. Like you had it the whole way, and then it just slips out from under you, and this person who was totally into it's no longer. They just don't know what to do. I wish that we got to there's another great one that's like lead powerfully through the close. Show leadership in your enrollment conversation. Like there's other disciplines in here that are really important as well. They all kind of work together, but that's really difficult to show the leadership at the end and to recognize that the person actually wants your leadership at the end. They want you to lead them through the close. They want you to lead them into that possible context of possibility, that these are the things that a coach does, or that anybody does, really, that's doing something that they feel is beneficial for the other person. Even if it's just like, I use such random simple metaphors, but because later on in this book, he's like, you can do this as a blue collar job. But like when you're selling someone a washing machine, like you're expecting that this is going to be helpful for them, so you bring them to the cash register, you say this is how much it is, you give them the card reader. These are all like acts of service because you believe that this is going to be helpful for them, and that's like, to fully believe that requires that you fully believe that your service is useful for them. So it's really powerful. It's a powerful backbone thing. So that's what I wanted to just leave it in the kind of the realm of possibility of like, these disciplines are the realm of possibility to become an amazing coach and to have an amazing professional business, to have an amazing business regardless of what you do. And also to have amazing relationships with the people that you love and admire. Like it's not just it's not just in the realm of possibility when it comes to coaching, it's a realm of possibility in the world of becoming a prosperous person. So I think that these 18 disciplines and spending time talking about them with everybody in your life and seeing how they weigh in on them just makes the process deeper and more prosperous just in every avenue. So with that being said, hopefully everyone has a fantastic week and that these disciplines get more deeply ingrained in you. If you have any questions or comments or insights, I'd love to see them written on the stream or email them or direct message me. Let's keep the conversation going.